And here we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Alex again, and I'm here with your daily devotional. And today I'm looking at Joshua 2. Yesterday in the studio, two of my clients had a conversation about how there's no more depth in music, and it's all about feelings. As long as it makes you feel good, it works. It doesn't have to have any creative lyrics. It doesn't have to have anything amazing. It's just that the vibe has to be right, and it makes you feel a certain way. And it got me thinking that this can be applied to anything. It could be applied. To sermons, right? People might not want sermons with depth anymore. They just want sermons that make you feel a certain way. And one of my guys said, you know what? It's kind of like that drug mentality. Like, they just want the easy fix, the feeling, that escapism. And I think that's the tool that devil's using right now. So it got me thinking. I was asking one of my coaches, how do you teach depth in a world and in a society that doesn't really want depth anymore? They just want that quick fix. And he said, you got to break the walls. And that brought me to Jericho, about how God broke down the walls. And we were looking at that, and he said, maybe that's why he had the Israelites walk around Jericho for a little while, for a long while, was the walls are broken on his time, on God's time, not on our time. It's broken on God's time, for when people are ready to receive the depth and the beauty of Jesus Christ, right? Because when Jericho was broken down, there was only one family that survived and that was accepted and became Israelites, and that was Rahab's family. So what made them different? What made Rahab's family different when the walls were broken down and they were ready to receive depth? What made them different? And it's right here in Joshua 2, verse 10. Joshua 2, verse 10 and 11. So the spies get in, and she's talking to the Israelite spies, and she says this. Starting on verse 9. She said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, for dread from you has fallen upon us, and all the inhabitants of the land melt in terror before you. For we heard how the Lord dried up the waters of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the two kings of the Amorites, who were on the other side of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. Our hearts melted when we heard these things, and no man had any breath in him because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on earth below. So she heard about God. She heard the surface level of God because of how God moved in the Israelites' life. She heard that testimony. And so now she trusted the spies to ask them if she could be kept safe. And so that's why testimonies are important. It's not the meat of it all, but it helps someone to get ready to receive Christ when the walls are broken, determined by God's appointed time, right? Rahab was ready to be saved as soon as all the walls were broken down in Jericho, because she heard the testimony of the Israelites. So could it be that if us as believers do not allow God to conquer the enemies in our lives, to conquer the sins, to conquer the bad habits in our lives, if we don't allow God to conquer those things, that we actually cannot reach the Rahabs in our worlds today? That's important. The Israelites allowed God to conquer these things, and so Rahab was reached. So that's a devotional, guys. Think about that. Meditate on that. Us allowing God to conquer our sins is not just for our own sakes. It's also for the sake of others who don't know God or only know God on a surface level. Or who are seeking. Because our testimony might be the thing that helps to win their trust. And once the trust is won, when God finally breaks down their walls, then they'll actually be ready to receive God, to receive the depth and the beauty of who Jesus is. Just like Rahab did. And Rahab was. So that's the devotional, guys. Joshua 2, 9 through 11. Peace and love all.